But welcome to our Together We Will Heal Forum by the Central Texas African American Family Support Conference. The conference vision is to educate the African American Conference on mental health, substance use disorder, and intellectual and developmental disabilities, as well as the total well being of African Americans. Through these series, we hope to continue the conversation about these topics and the public health challenges posed by the COVID-19 pandemic. There's so many conversations that we must continue as an African American community. And we hope that this forum will provide the opportunity for you to participate in the conversations that offer education, encouragement, and also the resources to survive during these difficult times. Because we understand there has been traumatic times that we have all been a part of, but we have survived these difficult times. And today, this is going to be a powerful topic on healing anxiety naturally, practical tools for dialing down anxiety on the spot. I believe that this is an awesome topic that will be brought by our guest speaker, Kay Hutchinson, a lady that I've grown to know and grown to admire and to love as a leader in this particular area. She is an energy medical specialist. She is an author. She is a creator of Drain to Gain, a new personalized coaching program for women business leaders who are suffering from chronic fatigue and anxiety. And she helps clients boost their energy naturally, get peak performance and consistent states of calm so that they can attract higher paying dream customers and reclaim their joy of running their businesses and lives. And I do want to just add in that I've had the opportunity to be a part of some of Kay's programs and activities, which has really been helpful, for me. So I really appreciate her doing what she is doing. And so, Kay, we really appreciate you being here. Before Kay starts, I just want to give you a few housekeeping rules. Please mute yourself at all times. We want to make sure that there's no feedback or there's no conversations during the time of this presentation. And there will be times for interaction. You can raise your hand then and unmute yourself to talk when you are called upon. We want to make sure that if you get overwhelmed or if there are emotional times, please turn off your video so that you can handle your emotions privately. We can understand that, sometimes there may be some issues that may trigger from this conversation, but it's okay. Just go and turn off your video and then begin to handle, and get your support, some self-care. And note that the sessions will be recorded and it's streaming live on Facebook. So just put on your happy face and enjoy this presentation by Kay. Thank you so much, Kay. Now you can take it away.
Hey, thank you so much for that wonderful introduction, Sonia. I really appreciate you. Before we get started, everybody, I just wanted to encourage you and just to reiterate what Sonia said about the idea that we may get triggered. So one of the things that I'm going to start out with is what's called an activity called pulling down the heavens. And what this does is it helps to ground you. So if at any point, if you're feeling strong emotions coming up and you just need to settle, it's okay, as she said, to turn off the camera if you need to. And then you're just going to simply raise your hands up to the skies above, inhale, and then you're going to exhale and help yourself move whatever it is you're experiencing back down to the earth. And you're going to inhale here, and then you're going to gently exhale and allow yourself just to move out whatever it is that you're feeling and help to dial down the intensity. So we call that the safety valve in terms of Chinese energy medicine, because that one movement is really important for just helping to recalibrate yourself. So I'm going to do our screen share here, get us started with our PowerPoint. And if at any time you're having difficulty seeing or hearing me, let us know in the chat. You may not be able to see that chat quite so easily when we have the presentation up, but I believe someone is monitoring the chat. So if you do say things through that venue, you will be heard. So you're right here at Ike Healing Presents Healing Anxiety Naturally, Practical Tools for Dialing Down Anxiety on the Spot. I'm going to just take us through our, let me come out of the screen share. Take us through our objectives, because I need to change that. I often say that I'm a Mac lady on a PC. My PC is not happy with me right now. So I'm going to go through this in just a second. Let me get back into screen sharing. Let's go here. Do this old school way. So today, your roadmap will be this. These are the things that we're going to cover. Today, you're going to learn the true problem behind anxiety and how this relates to 5 critical areas or 5 tanks. We call them energy tanks in our system of healing. You're going to learn how to identify the 2 different main states of energetic anxiety, that is fast moving and slow moving. You're also going to learn about a 3rd type, which is a combo of both. You're going to learn the foods and movement therapies for both slow and fast-moving anxiety. And you're going to learn about 3 different types of holistic hands-on strategies that are effective for the 3rd type of anxiety, which is trauma-based anxiety. Trauma-based anxiety is actually a combination of fast and slow moving, and you're going to learn more about those in just a moment. But one of the things that I like to do is to stop the screen share and talk to you more intimately. How did I get started, on this journey of really focusing on anxiety? And it really comes down to a journey, a 22 years journey of lived experience with anxiety. When I was a teenager, I had these debilitating levels of energy drops, and no one could figure out what was going on with me. I was hypersensitive, my immunity was shot. I was that person that just really had poor health, and along with that came depression and anxiety. And although I was successful in the beginning with kind of figuring out a few tools to help myself, I began to realize, there's a lot of toxins in the environment. If I began to work with eliminating some of these environmental toxins through cleansers, through the makeups, through the food, maybe I'll start to feel better. And I did. But that anxiety was always there humming in the background. And as I continued to grow, I got to a point where I was a young woman attending the college, University of Texas at Austin, and I got exposed to pesticides. And for most people, they wouldn't have had any sort of response. But because I was really hypersensitive, it ended up really damaging my immunity, my neurological system at a really profound level. Where I was once a 4.0 GPA student at UT, I was no longer able to read or write. My nervous system was that damaged. And along with that damage to the nervous system came anxiety levels that were just through the roof. I was anxious about everything. And it bounced between this fast-moving anxiety and this slow, sluggish anxiety that made me feel like I couldn't do anything. And it was at that point that I began partaking and looking at holistic strategies to heal. I had tried everything. I went to different doctors, to different therapists, you name the therapies that were out there, and I probably tried them at that time. And that journey of choosing to really research holistic strategies brought me into working with Dr. Paul Lynn, who was the first acupuncturist in the state of Texas that worked with the legislature to actually make acupuncture legal in this state. Before then, he was getting thrown into jail for practicing Chinese medicine. So I went to him, and he started some different therapies with herbs. And he was the first person that said, has anyone ever really talked to you about energy? And I'm like, what? I know that I'm really ill. What do you mean? And he says, well, when we put needles and do these things for you, we're really impacting the energy pathways of your body. And I have the sense that, your energy is imbalanced, and that may be at root for a lot of what you're experiencing. But they continued to work with me with acupuncture. I started to feel better. I was able to benefit from the herbal therapies, went back to school, got my degree, started teaching. And life is cooking along fairly well. I transitioned from teaching into a high-tech career because I was writing and doing a lot with education and technology. And so it got to the point where I was in my 30s, and bam, once again, I found myself not only critically ill again, and a lot of that was stress mediated, running my own business and company in Silicon Valley, one of few African American owned and woman based businesses. So a lot of that was stress, but a lot of it was that I had never really fully learned how to heal my anxiety. So it was always there being triggered on different levels. And so it came to this point where I found myself just kind of laying in bed in the San Francisco Bay Area with the covers practically pulled over me, with waves of pain racked through my body, with waves of depression and waves of anxiety, and wondering how in the world am I ever going to continue my business, much less expand it? And it was on that day that I just was feeling so defeated and so tired on every level imaginable. And a friend of mine said, you know what? There's this interesting doctor, Dr. Arnold Tyam, that works at Stanford, and he does this funny thing called Qigong. He is a doctor of energy medicine, and I think you ought to see him. You've tried everything else, Kay. So I went to see him, and he said to me the one thing that no one had ever said so directly to me. He says, you've never learned how to manage your energy. You've kind of heard this idea that your energy may be imbalanced, but you've never learned the exact tools to manage that. And that's why your anxiety is through the roof. That's why your health is failing you. That's why, you're concerned about your business and you're spinning and you're worried all the time because your energy tanks are imbalanced. And so we began this journey of him teaching me these really simple resets to begin dialing the levels and intensity of anxiety down. And that led me to getting such great results that I decided to go back to school and study with him. And through his school, I got my certification to become a practitioner. And I've been a practitioner for 18 years. So today we're going to go through some of those resets. But I always say, in order to transform something, you have to understand it. So let's begin talking about the two different types of anxieties, and then I'm going to show you some hands-on tools to begin working with that. So let me go back into the screen share real quick. And I'm going to kind of leave it small because my machine is not quite cooperating there. So we have two basic energetic states of anxiety. A slow state was more of what I had when I was laying in bed with the covers and I felt like there was lead on me that I couldn't move. I was stuck and my thoughts would spin and spin and spin, but they would never take me into anything productive. My actions were just immobilized. So this is the type of anxiety where you just feel tired and you feel sluggish. There's a feeling of heaviness in your body. It's the feeling of not being able to move, or some clients say it's the feeling of feeling like I have lead on my body. Now that's very different than the other state of anxiety, which is the fast type of anxiety. It's the kind of anxiety that keeps you in constant motion. You might recognize this if you suffer from this one, where it's hard for you to slow down. In fact, the more busy you are, the less anxious you feel, but the moment you start to slow it down, you start to get more and more anxious. And this happens to both men and women, but particularly with us women, that might show up as looking really overscheduled in our lives, and we have a hard time saying no to new activities. So that is a type of anxiety that is really so fast in its energetic quality. And oftentimes, people that are highly productive in their professional lives, who get a lot done, are running off of that type of fast anxiety that they may not even realize that they're suffering from anxiety. So both states, whether it's the slow moving heavy type or whether it's that fast hyped up, I can't even get to sleep at night because I'm thinking about the to-do list that I have for tomorrow, which has a million things already on it. Either one of those states can lead to exhaustion and what we call energetic depletion. And it can lead to other types of physical health conditions. For example, there's research that's showing us that digestive issues like GERD and acid reflux tend to go hand in hand, whether you have the fast moving or the slow moving. And they're even seeing those relationships the other way around, where people who have those conditions over time have a tendency to develop anxiety. So there's a really strong relationship between anxiety and our digestive systems. And we really see that in this system of Chinese energy medicine. We say energy that is anxious energy is ruled by the earth element, which rules our what? Our stomach and our digestive organs. So when we hear this research about GERD and anxiety, acid reflux and anxiety as energy medicine specialists, we go, that completely makes sense. So if you are someone that's suffering with any forms, fast moving, slow moving, you may also have some digestive issues too. So we're going to be talking about that role of food as medicine too. So let's go on to the next slide here. So the good news about this is this type of movement called Qigong. Qi means energy, and Gong just means training that energy. This type of movement therapeutically is really great for balancing both types, because we have movements that can slow down that fast moving anxiety, and we have movements and breath work that can actually wake up the body when you're feeling sluggish. So today we're going to try a little bit of that right now, and you don't have to even get up, and it doesn't require any special equipment or anything. We're going to just do it from a seated posture. So I'm going to kind of adjust my camera just a little bit so that as I slide back on my stool, you can see a little bit more of my body. So the first thing that I want you to do is to come to the edge of your chair, sit off the edge of your chair, and make sure that your feet are totally flat. Your toes are pointing forward. And what we're going to do is we're going to work a little bit. Let's take it with working with slowing down the energy. Because a lot of times our hearts are racing. And if you're like me, someone that's really been a bit overstimulated the last few days with all that's been in the news, and though we had an outcome that was somewhat favorable, and I always say somewhat because we still have a lot of work to do, but if you're someone that was feeling triggered by that and just felt like there's just so much information and stimulation coming, chances are that you may be having a faster moving anxiety trigger. So let's just begin by slowing down. And if you have the slow type, we'll get to that in a minute. Do participate with this because it will actually benefit that too. So we're going to just begin what that movement that I showed you in the very beginning with inhaling here. And then we're going to imagine that we're taking that fast moving energy and we're going to exhale and let it drop and sink. Imagine it connecting into the earth. As you inhale, draw in that deeper breath. As you exhale, take that faster moving anxiety, any feelings that have been triggered over the last few days, push it down into the earth. 3 more times. Inhaling into calmer energy. Exhale. Guide that energy downward, just releasing any fast moving thoughts to the ground. Inhaling here. And then exhale. Consciously release that tension, that tightness, any triggered feelings down into the earth. Last time. Inhaling here. And exhale. Release and relax down to the ground. Now place your palms right on the top of your thighs and pay full attention to the sensation of your feet resting on the earth. And we're going to do just a little bit of stomping where you're lifting your feet and dropping your feet. Really bringing that awareness to the sensation of your feet gently tapping in. And each time your foot connects in with that floor, you're consciously releasing downward any sensation of spinning thoughts, fast-moving energy, any sensation of anxiety, triggered feelings. Just stomp it out, releasing it down to the earth, and then letting your feet come into stillness. Then place your hands right on your lower belly. And we're going to just begin rocking back and forth gently. Inhale as you rock back. Exhale as you go forward. Inhale, rocking back. Exhale, forward. Inhale, exhale forward, 2 more cycles. Inhale, exhale forward, last time. Inhale and exhale forward. Beautiful. And then just shake your hands out. And as you shake out, this is where I usually will lose a bracelet. Fling out, shake out any feelings that need to release from your fingertips. Just take a moment to shake that out. Beautiful. And then anytime as we continue through this presentation, if you need to come back and ground yourself, make sure your feet are flat and then just shake out and pay attention to your feet. Okay, and you can also do that pulling down heavens as well. So a couple of tools to slow things down. So just kind of checking in through the chat as you all come back up to the screen, or perhaps you were further back like me. Just want to kind of check in to see how you're all feeling. I'm looking to see, are you feeling more relaxed? You can share in the chat what that was like for you. And we are going to have a longer Q&A at the end, so you'll have an opportunity to ask some questions. But I'm just kind of monitoring and checking into the chat there to see how you all are doing. And meanwhile, as that's beginning to come up, I'm going to take us back in to our screen share. So continue to breathe. So that kind of an activity can help us to just kind of calm things down when we're having that type of faster moving anxiety. And I'm going to kind of go ahead in my slides here to talk about, in addition to moving, there are actually different types of foods that we can use to help us to really get a hold of the fast anxiety, begin slowing it down. And so some of those things include decaf spiced tea. There's a special type of spiced tea that absolutely on an herbal level will begin to bring that down. And I actually have it in my mug today. And it's a tea that you can find at a lot of times Walmart, H-E-B, Amazon. It's Bengal, Bengal, Spice Tea by Celestial Seasonings. And you'll be getting a handout that has more of this information on it. So that tea has a taste like pumpkin and spice and nutmeg and cinnamon. And when we take those types of flavors, and even just smelling it, if you're someone that doesn't enjoy those flavors, but you like the scent, just merely connecting in with the scent can begin calming the body. So decaf spice tea is something that you can easily fit into your day. Just make it, put it in a thermos, carry it around all day. And when you start to feel that faster sense of anxiety, take a tea break. And the other strategy that I often say is take a tea break with a mug that reminds you to kind of connect in with positive energy. My mug happens to say, happiness blooms from within. And so when I take that break and I have that tea and really just smell it and allow myself that moment of settling, it stops the nervous system from running so fast. So that can really begin to dial it down right in the moment. The other food that can be really helpful is butternut squash soup. Butternut squash is one of the herbs that we use to really help settle. And it's also a tonic. So if you are someone suffering from digestive issues, if you have GERD, this is a soup that can really help you. And in this case, we kind of just season it again with a little bit of nutmeg, garlic, and onion. And these recipes will be posted in my Facebook community this Saturday, right after the reset class. So if you're wanting the exact recipes, and there are certain types of spices that I include in certain proportions to turn just an ordinary bowl of soup into a power food. Those will be available for you as well. The other thing that can be helpful, I want you to start thinking of any sort of orange or yellow vegetable as being beneficial to working with anxiety. So in this case, we're looking at a Cantaloupe Parfait, just this beautiful natural yogurt blended with a couple of cantaloupe balls can make a wonderful dessert. And that little bit of sweet that comes from like a banana or cantaloupe can be really helpful in beginning to calm down the energy. So those are some examples of foods that we could use for this more faster type of anxiety. So I'm going to stop the screen share here, and we're going to go into a quick reset for the type of anxiety that is slow moving, the kind that I described where it felt like moving through molasses. It felt like there was lead on the body, and it felt like I couldn't move forward. I just totally felt immobilized. So if you've ever had that sensation in your life, you need tools to actually bring energy into your body. And this is where it's so important to know what type of anxiety you have, because, for example, there are medications that are given for anxiety that are sedative in nature. Xanax is one of them. But let's say you have that slow moving anxiety, and one of my clients had that. And when she took that medication, she says, you know, it's kind of making me feel zoned out, but my anxiety is actually worse. And she says, Kay, I just don't understand that. They're telling me this is something that's supposed to help me. So if you've ever been that person that hasn't responded well to medications that have been given for anxiety, most of them have a sedating effect. It could be that you have the slow moving variety. And so those kinds of things even make you feel worse. So we need to do things that actually bring energy into your body versus sedating you. The same thing, I had a client that had terrible allergies and had that slow moving type of anxiety. And her doctor had said, oh, why don't you take some Benadryl for your allergies? And she was taking Benadryl all the time. And she said, ever since I've been doing this, my anxiety's through the roof. And immediately I was able to say to her, would you go back to your medical doctor and ask them to prescribe some sort of antihistamine that doesn't sedate you? And when she made that switch, she began to feel better and her anxiety came back into a more manageable level. So let's do some things for that slow moving type to really kind of bring that energy back to your body. And we're going to end up doing some tapping. If you're someone that gets triggered by tapping, substitute brushing. And I'm going to go kind of back and forth between the two so that you can kind of see and experience what that's like. So we're going to begin with, again, checking to see if your feet are flat on the floor, toes pointing forward. Come and scoot to the edge of your chair to allow your feet to get into contact with the floor. You want to take a moment and imagine as if you're growing roots that are dropping into the earth and they're anchoring you. Just imagine yourself as a really big oak tree, and you have these amazing roots that are going deep, and they're holding you, and they're keeping you centered and anchored. Now our palms are going to go onto the top of our hands, or rather on the top of our thighs, and we're going to begin with brushing. Then we're going to go into tapping so that you have a choice of which style of working with your body feels best for you. So we're going to start at our hips, and we're going to brush out. So start at the hips and brush out. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. So pat and exhale, brush. Pat, exhale, brush. Pat, exhale, pat, exhale, pat, exhale. Inhale, exhale, pat, exhale, pat, exhale. Now we're going to transition into patting all the way through. Again, if you feel more comfortable just sticking with the brush, then do that. Let me get rid of the bracelet, which I'm going to lose in a moment. So pat, 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 pat. Pat, 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 pat. Brush out. Pat, 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 pat. Brush out. Pat, 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 pat. Brush out. Pat, 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 brush out. Now we're going to gently just tap into either side of our shoulders. If you're sensitive to touch and tap, don't touch into the body. Just come close to your body. But if it feels comfortable, go ahead and tap in. So we can adjust these movements in ways that help us to just gently start increasing the blood flow to certain areas, whether we're tapping in fully or whether we are just coming a few inches off the body. Breathing gently, allow yourself to exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, Exhale, inhale. Exhale, inhale. Tap into your chest very lightly. Again, you can just hover off the body. And we're going to try a different pattern of breathing while our hands are moving. Get ready, here we go. Exhale, 2, 3, inhale. 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 Last time. Good. Shake that out. And then we're going to wake up the energy even more by taking our hands and shaking them above the head. Shake out that heaviness that's in front of your body. Shake out the heaviness that may be on either side of your body. Then shake out from the head all the way down to your knees. Inhale and exhale as you shake it down. Inhale and exhale as you shake it down. Inhale at your shoulders and exhale as you shake it down. Inhale at your waist and exhale as you shake it down. And we're going to end with some gentle brushes once again along the tops of your legs. Brush it out as strong as you can. Brush it out. Feel your hands pressing against the top of your legs, bringing that circulation, but also releasing any sense of heaviness, any sense of stuckness. Just shake that off, brush it off, and brush it down your arms, just releasing that heaviness as your hands are gently increasing the blood flow through your arms. Beautiful. Shake that out. And then we're going to end with that motion that we used for the faster. We're going to inhale here. And we're going to slowly come down and exhale, allowing the energy to return to the earth. Inhale and imagine your most centered, grounded self. Exhale, releasing any feelings, thoughts that may be keeping you from your center and your calmness. Inhaling, imagining your most centered, grounded self. Exhale and release downward, calming, beautiful. And allow your hands just to rest on your lower belly right now. Just maybe an inch or so below your belly button. And as your hands begin to settle there, we're going to allow our bodies just to rotate around in a circle. And this one is really good if you're someone that gets spinning thoughts. And usually we get them like at 2 or 3 in the morning, mostly when we need to sleep. And all these thoughts start spinning around. When we give a slight spinning motion to our bodies, it tells our brains that we don't have to keep spinning in our thoughts. We let our bodies do the spinning by just gently breathing. So exhale as your body comes forward. Inhale as you rotate towards the back. And you can make your circles and your rotations as big or small as you like. Just remember to breathe outward when you come forward and inhale as you go back. This repetitive motion begins to reset your brain and your thought patterns. It gives your mind something to do, and it gives a place for spinning to happen in a way that's balancing out and releasing stress from the low back. It's releasing tightness from your kidneys, from your adrenals as you gently rotate. go the opposite way and just notice how it feels. Again, remembering to exhale as you come forward and inhale as you come to the back. Exhale forward. Inhale as you go to the back. Few more rotations, just giving that spinning energy a positive place to be instead of in your mind going over and over the same content. Beautiful. And just shake that out. Release. And I'm checking into chat. So yes, I see some of you are saying that breathing always calms. And we also will be posting the name of the tea. There it is. Actually, one of my students who's in the room did that. So if you need that name of the tea, the Bengal spice tea, it's in the chat there for you. So let's take a moment and just check in again and see how you're feeling right now. You can let me know in the chat how you're experiencing this before we go on to our next screen share. So just allowing yourself to settle, having your feet fully on the ground, the floor is such an important way of allowing your energy to drop and for you to begin to center. So anytime when you're moving through your day, if you're starting to feel as if those anxiety levels are triggered and are rising, it's so important just to allow your feet through that structure to connect in with the earth. Great, beautiful. So let's jump back into the screen share. So I talked a little bit about the foods that can help with a faster moving anxiety. Those same foods can help us with the slow moving anxiety, but we just do a little bit of different seasoning with the foods that can help us with the slow moving. So let's hop back here to our screen share here. And we're going to kind of talk about the foods that kind of are really resonating. And the fruits, we really look at things like papaya, and oranges and tangerines, banana and plantains. Those types of foods can be really good for the slow anxiety because what? They are the yellow and orange fruits and vegetables that give us a little bit more carbohydrates. Whereas, we might tend to look at things that are not quite as sweet for the fast moving, because remember that carbs are going to give us more energy. So if you have that fast moving, you want to really watch the level of carbs coming into your body. And that can be hard for us because oftentimes we want to keep that fast level. We get addicted to that fast level. And so we see ourselves reaching for donuts and things that are sugary, right? And in our community, that sets us up for prediabetes or diabetes and other metabolic disorders. So we want to kind of keep that slower, lower carbs. But if you have that slow type of anxiety where you barely have any energy, you have probably the body that can take a little bit more carbs so you can have those fruits that are slightly sweeter like bananas and plantains and oranges. On the vegetable side, we're still talking about butternut squash. We're talking about pumpkin. We're talking about sweet potatoes. So if you are prone to anxiety, integrating more sweet potatoes, have them as snacks, have them as baked potatoes, yams, these things can be very helpful too. And then the spices that we tend to use when you have more of that slow moving anxiety are things like cinnamon and ginger. They bring more circulation into your body, and peppers and things like that. So we think about if you have slow moving, you want to bring in the things that are going to increase your circulation. And here's another thing about slow moving anxiety. I don't know if I said this earlier, but part of my journey was with fibromyalgia, which meant that I had huge levels of inflammation and pain in my body. The slow-moving anxiety tends to go hand in hand with that kind of chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia. So cinnamon, ginger, and small amounts of cayenne pepper can be very helpful in increasing circulation to your muscles so that you don't ache all the time, and also helping to reduce that inflammation. So these types of foods can be really helpful in getting to the other side of this kind of slow-moving anxiety. Okay. So the next thing I wanted to talk about is the types that many of us are experiencing, trauma-triggered anxiety. Now, in Chinese energy medicine, we have found therapeutically that certain types of breathwork patterning helps you to connect in with the deeper layers of trauma that may be at root for triggering anxiety. However, it's really important that you work with a therapist and go slowly. I often say that therapists who want to kind of move you into the deep end of the pool are not being responsible, because we want to make sure that as trauma unfolds, that you have the tools to neurologically, emotionally, and spiritually process what's coming up. And so oftentimes the kind of deep, deep breath work that I teach that has to do with trauma, anxiety, I'll do that work one-on-one. And so you really won't see me engaging a whole group around that. But I just want you to be aware that that type of breath work is a therapy that's available. That if you have that deeper trauma-triggered anxiety, and it may be fast-moving, it may be slow-moving, and you're not getting results, you may need to integrate some of these holistic things to augment the beautiful work of psychotherapy or the beautiful work of drugs through psychiatry. And so that is actually a tool that we use in Chinese energy medicine, specific forms. We call it Jing, or deep level breathing work that takes us into those deeper layers of self. There are also very specific movements that I teach in my Saturday class that are designed to get you deeper into those areas. And again, we do that when we know that we have the spaciousness of time to really work with what that content is. And there are specific movements. I often tell the story of a client that was really doing beautiful work in many different areas with her trauma, and just wasn't getting the level of results that she wanted to. And we came and we did this movement piece together. And in 10 minutes, she had processed and worked through a lot of these deeper layers that she wasn't even really aware that were there. She kind of sensed and suspected it, but they came into full consciousness, and she had the tools to use her movements to move that out so that it didn't overwhelm her. And from that point on, her anxiety greatly improved. So there are specific movements that can take you into that. Just like the movements we did today, these are designed not so much for deep trauma, but when you do them regularly, or even you might have experienced today, you get a sense of perhaps things coming up when you're doing these movements. It's a sign that, you may need to be working at that deeper layer. And there are also different meditations that help you to rewire the deeper layers of trauma-based anxiety that really get at releasing the what we call energetic patterning and also somatic, our body patterning that holds that trauma. So there are very specific meditations that we use in energy medicine to help people with that. So if you're someone that's suffering from that kind of deep level trauma, please know that there are tools to augment the things that you may be using from traditional Western systems. If you're finding that you're just quite not getting the result, and you find yourself living a life where you're being triggered often. And I often say, there's no stigma around being triggered. We all have trauma of some level, but the key is to make sure that it's not interfering with the way that we're functioning in our lives, with our ability to access joy, with our ability to access a sense of centeredness. So I often say that without a system of adjusting the energy of trauma, anxiety keeps coming back. So we want to develop a repertoire of tools to work with that so that we can have permanent resolution of our anxiety. So let me get out of our screen share here for just a second. Beautiful. And so I often in these stories or in the presentation would talking about one of my clients that I worked with that had a level of anxiety, and hers bounced back and forth between slow and fast. So it's not necessarily that you have one or the other. And it bounced, and the energy of that anxiety was so heavy and so profound that when it came time to do presentations to go for rounds of funding for my client's company, that anxiety energy is what showed up and what investors saw. So time after time again, the business got turned down. And so finally, we started working with these resets. I said, this has got to change. Are you willing to work with these these energetic movements that come from the system of medical Qigong? And my client was like, I got to do something. So we worked on a period of about 8 weeks, really teaching and integrating these kinds of resets, very similar to what you did. In fact, one of them, if you look in the chat and go all the way back, it's a 6-minute audio that my client used. And this was one of the audios that was used right before a funding meeting. And I often say the best present that I ever got from a client was a text that said, nailed it. And what that client nailed was a $4 million round of funding, because when my client walked in there, my client knew to drop the roots, like I always teach, knew ahead of time to calm the energy, send that anxiety down to the ground. And so my client was able to look those investors in the eye from a place of confidence. And that energy of centeredness just radiated outward. And it made those investors so excited. And they were so highly motivated to do business with my client. And that allowed the client to move that company forward. So, anxiety, it shows up in so many different ways in our lives. Sometimes it's showing up in terms of keeping us small in our relationships, keeping us in a box of rigidity and nervousness, preventing us from really taking those bigger steps and being able to attract to ourselves those things that we really desire in our business lives. It can show up in so many different ways. And as our world continues to evolve and change, we will have different situations to trigger us. But today, hopefully, you had a few tools to learn, in summary, the difference between fast and slow moving, and some different breath and resets, as well as foods that can begin that journey of healing these things at a deeper level. So I'm going to give this back over to Sonia. She's going to lead us into our Q&A. And I'll give that back over to her. And again, I want to thank you all for being open and participating today.
Hello, everyone. Again, thank you, Kay. Now the chat room is open. Do we have anyone that may have any questions for Kay?
And one thing to think about is you may want to think about, where is anxiety creating a challenge for you? So I see someone in chat. Can we have these emailed to us?
Yes. The videos and slides.
Absolutely. So if you go, you'll see the link to get the 6-minute audio for reducing anxiety. It's 6 minutes that will take you from that higher level of intensity. If you go to the link there, when I send you that audio, I will send you the PowerPoint. So make sure to get over there and get your email to me in that way. That way I can make sure to follow up and give you these slides. And this Saturday, we're going to be having the recipes posted in our 5 Elements Healing community on Facebook. So 5 Elements Healing community, you can go over there. It is a paid membership, but I allow anyone that's come to any of my workshops just to come in and enjoy some of the classes and decide whether it's a fit for you. I think it is, because we can all use the power of calming down. We can all use the power of reducing anxiety. So I see a question there. What type of food would you suggest that we stay away from to help our anxiety? So again, and I've said this in other talks too, about my healing depression naturally, that sugar is probably our number one enemy. And yet it is something that we are so addicted to at times. Sugar really does a number on our brain chemistry, and it can create a sense of scattered energy that could exacerbate the sense of anxiety. So look to see where there are hidden sources of sugar in your diet. Even fruit juices, which are natural, are very, very high in sugar. So that's usually the first thing I do as an energetic nutritionist, is to tell people, let's go lower carb for a little while to see if we can dial that down. Can you post us the Facebook group? Sure, Sandy. That group is 5 Elements Healing Community on Facebook. So there it is in the chat. Oh, goodness. So Any other questions or thoughts coming up? Just check into your bodies and see how you're feeling. Check into your feelings. And another question, are there specific movements we can do to improve our digestive system? Absolutely. Any sort of movement where you're having your hand on the center of the body, this is a really real simple one, is you sit and you simply allow the body to twist from side to side, because our main digestive organs, the stomach, the spleen, the pancreas, are kind of sitting in the middle of the body. And if we can get energy and circulation of blood moving through these areas, then the lower digestive organs will also benefit. A lot of times we have a lot of tension right underneath our rib cage, and we have a lot of stagnant energy that's sitting right in that area. So just holding the center of your body and rotating gently from side to side, whether standing or sitting, is going to begin getting a circulation in there. You can also tap on the areas right underneath your rib cage. And I do this every single morning to get higher circulation into my spleen, into my pancreas, into my stomach before I have a meal. And I find that, I digest the food better. And I hope that it's revving up my metabolism. At age 57, I want to have a higher metabolism. So those are simple things that you can do that. And then, are there movements for stress in the shoulder? So a variation of one of the movements that we were doing were this tapping that we do here. So you can cup your hand and just gently tap and allow that higher circulation to come into those bigger muscles. If you're really tired, you might be doing it slowly like this. But if you have more energy, you might be going a little bit more briskly. Sometimes people think that Qigong, like Tai Chi, is very slow and meditative, but we can actually even take it into a cardiovascular zone by hitting and bearing the way that we're moving the big muscles of our bodies. So that one is really great. And just coming in and tapping all the way down and out on the side of your neck, all the way out, that can really help to begin to melt those boulders that we get when we start to have tension and tightness. And then I see another question here that says, can you please tell us about your new program? So, oh, wow, thank you. I'm really super excited. For 18 years, I've worked with entrepreneurs, both men and women. And so that's just really near and dear to my heart. I've run my own businesses since the age of 29, and I'm almost 58 this year. So working with business owners in our community and supporting their energy so that they have that higher level of vibrancy has always really been important. But this year I decided in particular, I'm going to focus on my queen bosses. And so we will be launching starting June the 5th, Drain to Gain, moving from serious burnout to success breakout, a 12-week combination of online and personalized coaching that helps women entrepreneurs, leaders in our community who may be suffering with anxiety and chronic fatigue to learn how to boost the energy naturally, to learn how to balance those 5 energy tanks that I talked about so that you can have peak performance. And through that journey, learn how to really connect in with your dream customers that may be higher paying dream customers, and reclaim the joy of not only running a business, but of running life. Because so often we are seeing that entrepreneurs, according to the National Institute of Mental Health, are experiencing 70% of them are experiencing depression, anxiety, and chronic fatigue. So this course and this experience is in response to turning that around and giving boss queens the power and the mojo to really create their most impactful and tap into their most epic selves. So that will be enrolling for June the 5th is when we open the doors to that course. And I'm just so super excited about that. Thank you for asking about that. And then here's another question. What can you do when anxiety keeps you up late in the night? So if you are having anxiety in the night, you probably are having that type where it's more fast moving. It's spinning, your thoughts are going, you just can't calm down. So you're going to want to take time to do some of those slower moving motions. And then that 6-minute audio that you can get for free will also help you. Many of my clients are using that. If you try that and you still say, well, okay, I still need something else, just get in touch with me and I will custom design a meditation for you to kind of help calm you down. We all have different circumstances of why that anxiety visits us late at night. And so I'm really a big person that there's not a one size fits all tool. So I love it when you try something and then reach out to me. My email address, I'm going to put it down here, is aikhealing@gmail.com. And you can just let me know, hey, this tool worked, hey, or hey, I need a little bit more help. And I never charge people just to fine tune things because I really just want you all feeling better. And I don't want you being up in the middle of the night because your anxiety is keeping you up. Definitely. Question is meditation for everyone? Absolutely. So what is meditation, right? So we have a lot of thoughts about, well, meditation means I've got to be quiet. I've got to say the sound or maybe not. I've got to be still. I'm here to tell you that all meditation is a certain state of brain frequency. We say the alpha and the theta states are associated with the meditative mind. And guess what? When you're doing these types of movements, did you notice that you had to pay attention to doing the movement correctly? You had to pay attention to where you were breathing. We had a repetitive motion where we're either rocking or we're rotating. There's a constancy. When we do movements in that way, these are called mindful or meditative movements because it creates within our brain, in a quicker period of time than traditional meditation, the alpha and the theta brainwave states. And this is why when you do just 3 or 5 minutes of these types of meditative movements, you get a result. I had a client that was interviewing me yesterday. I was being interviewed by Dr. Tiffany Moore, who's a really well-known anthropologist, who we were at the end of our days. This was like 8 p.m. yesterday. And she has small children. She was tired. And I said, okay, instead of just talking about this, we both are women of science and education. Let's do a 5-minute reset. You ready? And I just took her through some gentle, simple breathing. She looked at me and she said, wow, okay, I feel like I just had a cup of coffee. And I said, because your mind actually went into the meditative state. And when it's there, guess what? It refuels all 5 of your energy tanks. So we have to start rethinking what meditation means, because most of my clients, if I tell them you need to go to a meditation class to de-stress, they're like, girl, there's absolutely no way. Meditation? Oh, there's no way I'm going to calm down to meditate. But when I say, come and do a movement with me, they're able to do it. So it's not that we have to be traditional in our definitions of meditation. We can stretch that to say, anytime we're doing a repetitive thing that causes us to pay attention and be in the moment, that's meditative. Great question. And then there's another one. Because we all have different health concerns, when do you suggest that persons visit their medical doctor? Oh, I absolutely recommend that. I work hand in hand with my colleagues from the Western side. I'm a person that really believes if you work with me personally, I'm going to ask to see your blood work because that's going to tell me that you took that visit to your doctor. I'm going to look at your blood work, and then based on the data from that, I will design a customized program for you. I think it's really important more than ever that we get in to get our annual checkups, that we get in regularly to get our blood work done. You know, we should be, if you're under the age of 50, you should be getting that blood work done at least annually. If you have any kind of chronic issue, you may be getting it done as often as every 6 months. I think that's really important. And during these COVID times, people are shying away from going into the medical doctor's office. Don't do that. Get on in there. Do some breath work while you're in there with your mask to calm yourself down, but make certain that you are getting that support and checking in with your medical doctors. That is super important. So I'm glad you brought that up. what are my credentials and what kind of specialist? My credential, I am a medical Qigong practitioner. What does that mean? Medical Qigong is the art that predates acupuncture. So I have all of the training that an acupuncturist does, but I do not use needles. The program that I went to instead of acupuncture college was a school of Chinese energy medicine, meaning everything was taught without needles. And so I've been doing that for 18 years now. And I did also extra clinical hours with Dr. Arnold Tayam, who was the person that developed all of the medical Qigong protocols for clinical body work, as well as movement protocols for Stanford Integrative Medicine Department. So through that training and the extra hours that I did in clinical medicine, it really gave me some strengths, not only as a clinical practitioner, but it also gave me a lot of strengths in my own healing journey because I was able to apply that to my own journey. And where can we find me? Where can you find me? You can find me at aikihealing.com. If you go over there, there's also the button, if you missed it in the chat, to get your 6-minute audio. It's right up at the top. And you can find me there. My studio is actually located in person outside of Austin. I'm in Maynard, Texas, just shy of the Austin city limits. But these days, mostly I'm connecting with clients through virtual means. I have a few clients that still come through in the traditional way, but that's where you can find me. Absolutely. So, Sonia, I'm going to turn it back over to you. I want to thank you all for coming today and listening, and I enjoy connecting. So feel free to get in touch with me outside of the workshop.
Thank you so much, Kay. I hope everybody can hear me as we begin to end this series. But thank you so much, Kay. I have been had the opportunity again to go into some of the sessions with Kay, and as a clergy, I really have to reduce my anxiety. And so some of the well, actually, majority of the sessions that I've had with Kay has been exceptional. It's a good thing for you to continue to participate. And I know for sure that all of you are much relaxed than what you were before the sessions. And so we really appreciate you participating in this. And so again, we just want to say thank you. Every third Wednesday of the month at 1:30, we will continue together. We will heal forms. Continue just to mark your calendar because there's going to be many types of topics that I believe that is very important for our community. Also, we would like to invite you to the Facebook page. It is the Central Texas African American Facebook page. Go ahead and join it. There's over 1,000 participants that's part of that group, and you will find valuable information for mental health, intellectual disabilities, and substance use disorders. And so that's an opportunity just to connect with people who are like minded. And also, there is a conference shop that has amazing things for everyone, like T-shirts and hats, different types of items that I know for sure that you will really enjoy. So again, we just want to say thank you. Thank you for participating. And again, Kay, thank you so much for what you're doing. And we really love you and admire you. So again, we thank you so much for joining us on today for Together We Will Heal Forum. Thank you so much.
Thank you.